South African Reserve Bank sounds the alarm on the economy. Intel misses expectations. We are in profit on our Tesla trades and amazing trade opportunities coming up right now. This is Pounds for Breakfast. Good morning and welcome, guys. I'm your host, Dane Van. This is Pounds for Breakfast on this beautiful Friday as we wrap up a pretty amazing week, guys. We've had an amazing week of streams, of trades, of opportunities, of strategy. It's just been an absolute crack. I'd like to know from you in the comments down below if you've attended, what has been your favorite episode, your favorite show from this week. We would love to know your feedback. Now, being Friday, we spent a bunch of our time analyzing the markets, looking for trade opportunities, as well as just understanding where we could see ourselves in the next week. So we're going to start off with the news. You guys know the drill, and we're going to start off on the local front as we look at the South African economy, and then we migrate into international news. So let's get it going. Let's get started. Looking on the South African front, we had a smaller than expected rate hike yesterday, but the South African Reserve Bank sounded the alarms, saying that the South African economy is in for troubling times. Now, we've been speaking about this over the past couple of weeks and just explaining that we are in a delayed factor, right? Whatever happens in the US, whatever recessions, whatever interest rates, whatever inflation happens outside of the world, takes a couple months to impact South Africa. Now, we spoke about this in November and October, saying that, the South African economy is going to take serious strain around March and April this year. So again, these rate hikes are going to continue. As explained, if you have a variable interest rate on any of your debt, whether it be a home loan, whether it be a credit card, whether it be your vehicle, you can expect to be paying more and more for those items of debt over the coming months as the South African Reserve Bank hikes interest rate. Now, this is all in an attempt to fight inflation. This is a worldwide problem, but the US is starting to show signs that they could be peaking and at the end of that inflationary cycle. So that is good news for us long term, but short term, you can expect to just buckle down and essentially try and make every rand go further that you have in your pockets. Now, after hours, we're looking at Intel. Intel missed expectations last night in terms of their earnings report. They came in quite short. They had a estimation of coming in at 14.49 billion on their estimated revenue, and they missed target by only coming in at 14.04 billion. There was an expectation from the markets they would be coming in at 19 cents per share, their EPS, but they only came in at 10. So Intel essentially missed expectations, and subsequently their stock is falling across the board. So for those of you that were with us on our Tesla trade-a-thon that we had, I believe it was on Wednesday evening, we absolutely smashed the markets. We're currently sitting in profits on Tesla. So if you're part of that Tesla trades and you're in profit, kindly send me a screenshot of your trade down below. We learned a lot. We spent about 2 hours dissecting what is happening in the world, what's happening in Tesla, breaking down their earnings reports, and essentially listening in on the call with Elon Musk, which was extremely informative. And again, trading the markets is about learning. As we do these things from time to time, we all learn. We all have an opportunity to ask questions and essentially take that level of our information and knowledge a bit deeper and apply it to the rest of the market. So if you're with us, big shout out to you for joining us on that one. Now, in other news, before we get into the markets and into the fundamentals, Trump is back on social media, right? Now, we've spoken about this from time to time. We have missed Trump just because of the fact that he just causes an absolute mess. Now, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, he's a force to be reckoned with. Some of the things he says are just plain right stupid, but you know what? We enjoy it. It adds a bit of volatility to the market. If we're going to see that much anticipated Trump index will return, and essentially this is an index that looks at Trump's tweets, the frequencies thereof, and what the impacts are on the market. So he brings in a whole other dimension of trading that we should obviously prepare for. Again, he's not in the position of president, so it doesn't have as much of an impact. But remember, it is reported that he is apparently going to run in 2024. I'd love to know your opinion about that. Do you want to see Trump back in power, or did he just cause absolute chaos? I would love to know from you. The US economy was thumping under his reign. A bunch of things were flourishing, but yes, you could argue that he's a couple other things that are not too great to mention and or talk about. But this is the chance where we transition transition now into some of that fundamental data as we start to look at the S&P 500 up first, and then we're going to transition and have a look at the actual fundamental news that is due to come out over the course of today. So you know the drill. Looking across the board, we see a little bit of a mixed reaction here. Tesla up 10%, right? Again, if you're with us on the earnings call, we dissected, we looked at that across the board, and we just absolutely smashed it, regardless of which way you look at it. So Tesla up 10%, definitely something worth celebrating, and we will do that again. Just bring back Trump. Again, he's going to remain the topic and the theme for the next coming weeks. And again, as always, our aim and our goal is not to be perfect in the markets, ultimately to learn and take opportunities where they exist, right? We have past data to learn from, and we can utilize that to place trades and opportunities in the future. So again, if you're with that, just smash the like button, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you if you've learned something. And again, this is part of trading. It's about taking the data, putting the work, and as you know, 90% is about showing up. So if you're watching us right now, just a massive shout out to every single one of you. Now, as we wrap up that fundamental data, of course, we need to actually look at what is in the pipeline for today. So in terms of the big items, the high impact news, we have European Central Bank Lagarde speaking, and that is coming in at 12:30 this afternoon. That is GMT plus 2 times. And then moving into the US market, we have some core PCE price index data coming out at 3:30, and that is then followed up by pending home sales, and that is coming up at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So a little bit of volatility coming in from a Friday. As you guys know, always be cautious when trading on a Friday. Some things don't always line up. As we've seen yesterday, the fundamentals are broken, right? We got data in for that stronger dollar. The dollar outperformed yesterday's fundamentals, but we saw stock markets essentially initially push to the top side. Then we saw indices pull back towards the downside, and ultimately after hours, we saw that markets rallied on that stronger dollar data, where in the past we know that generally has caused a sell-off. So just be a little bit cautious as we proceed towards the end of this month and into the new month of February on fundamental data. As you know, things can be a little bit backwards. Beautiful stuff. Now, the time we're all waiting for is obviously jumping into that analysis. Now, I have some really amazing trade opportunities I'd like to show you. We're going to break them down and have a look at what opportunities may exist and may even push well into the course of next week. So we're going to open that right up, and we're going to start, as always, with our trusted dollar index. So let's see. Beautiful stuff. Starting off first with the dollar index, and I just want to show you guys the impact of yesterday's fundamental data. This is currently looking at a 1 hour time frame. I do want to point out a bit of divergence that we're seeing, but really quickly, I just want to jump into what happened yesterday. And this is having a look at yesterday's fundamental data. So the data came out at 3:30. Initially, all the data, right, when it comes to GDP, when it came to all the items there, the unemployment rates, things like that, people filing for unemployment, these were all good signs for the dollar. However, the dollar lost traction. We saw the dollar sell off immediately and subsequently over the next hour, and then we saw some major bull activity. We saw from about 6:30, the dollar really started to lose traction. So delayed result. We expected to see that bull impulse traditionally immediately after we got that positive fundamental data. It was delayed by around about an hour, and then we see ultimately markets selling off on the dollar from that 6 o'clock mark. And that is why we saw across the board rallies on indices as well as commodities. And we will have a look at that in a second. Now, moving on to USD ZAR this morning, because I do believe there's some good opportunities for us to essentially capitalize on USD ZAR over the coming week. Also considering the dovish interest rate that came in yesterday, USD ZAR subsequently has pushed into those higher zones, right? Essentially attempting to take out this breakout formation that we are seeing. Just taking a step back from the 1 hour time frame, we can see that we are currently in that state of breakout. Just in terms of this last move here, we were correcting a little bit sideways, failing to make lower lows, and we are now starting to see that push through towards the top side. So I'm really looking at this from a next week's perspective. I would really like to see for an opportunity, should we get that dollar strength in the index coming in, I would like to see a push towards the top side. Now, why am I looking at that dollar strength? I'll show you really quickly, and this is where we get to the divergence on the dollar. So just going back to a 1 hour time frame, I just want to show you guys this really quickly, is that when we have a look at the RSI, we're making those higher lows from an RSI perspective, right? So less oversold territories, whilst when we look at the price action, we're not making higher lows on the price action, right? And this is a clear sign of divergence, that there is a slowing down or thinning out of sellers in this particular section. So should we start to see the dollar break through the 101.98 mark, or more rounded off the 102 mark on the index, that could give us some fuel towards a rally, which would push USD ZAR towards that top side. Now, really quickly, moving into gold and having a look at where gold is currently sitting. Again, this is going to be a very, very interesting trade opportunity. As we've explained over the 1 hour time frame, we can see this bit of a sideways bull movement, but we, for the first time, started the breakout. The breakout started to happen at 4 o'clock yesterday, and this is in line with that stronger dollar. The dollar pushing through those barriers, gold sold off, and again we're sitting at a pretty good support here. $1,920 to an ounce of gold will be our technical support, and should we start to see that dollar strength come into the later course of today, alternatively even on Monday, that could be enough to send gold below that 1920 mark, right? The second we break the 1920 mark, we are in a new state. Gold is no longer in a bull cycle. We would then either be in a ranging state, or ultimately, should we break that 1920 mark, we could be in the next bear cycle for gold. So again, something we really want to be paying attention to, and we are going to keep a close eye on that. Quickly having a look at Brent and WTI. I'm switching between Brent and WTI, and I just want you to see how symmetrical these market structures are, almost identical from one to the other. So when we do an analysis on one, you can almost pretty much assume it's going to be the same for the other. But again, just go ahead and double check for yourself. Now, having a look at Brent has a slightly cleaner market structure just from that perspective, but we are going to look at WTI. We can see WTI still in that breakout state, right? We gave a trade opportunity in the back end on our favorites, and this was one of our favorite potential trades for a breakout, and we are seeing that continue to materialize. Now, again, should we get that stronger dollar influence, that might hamper Brent and WTI's push towards the top side. But again, we just want to monitor the dollar to have a look at this. Any external factors, again, because everything is so focused on energy right now, any external factors can also play a part in pushing WTI and Brent further towards that top side. So that's something we definitely will be paying attention to. Now, quickly having a look at our Tesla trade from yesterday, we looked at entering in Tesla right after the New York Exchange stock open, and we initially saw a little bit of a pullback here, and we got entries in around about that $158, and Tesla's currently already pushed up to the 160 plus mark. So again, if you are in Tesla, you know the time, you know what's going to happen. We are going to bring Trump out to do that celebration. If you are in Tesla, we're with us in terms of the earnings report and had an execution on the markets, just a massive congratulations to you, because you should be smiling right now across the board. So Tesla doing extremely well. And just having a look at, as a quick recap, having a look at US 30, we are going to continue to develop the strategy. As we can see yesterday, initially our strategy worked extremely well. I'm going to drop down to a 10-minute time frame just to break this down for you guys, just to show you guys what happened. Yesterday afternoon, we saw that an initial impulse as the New York Stock Exchange came out. Again, our strategy determined that we're not going to look at the initial impulse. We're rather going to take advantage of any sell movements. We grabbed in some sells there, and at about 5 o'clock, we saw a little bit of reversals, but ultimately those sells continued to be profitable. And if you sold with us in that state yesterday, fairly early on, you at the 33,809 mark, you should have been in round about 1,600 pips of profit. Ultimately, we saw a subsequent reversal from 6 p.m. towards the top side, and again on that reversals where I took in some buys there that I'm currently running, and I'm currently running in around about $30,000 on that position towards that top side. So the big question now is, are we going to see a breakout and a continuation towards the top side? So for those of you who are trading indices today, I just want to point out that we do have a rising channel. We drew this out yesterday as a potential of where US 30 could potentially go, and it definitely seems price action is lining up there. US 30 is essentially trying to attempt to push through that 33,950 mark, so $33,950. But I just want to point out that our next fib level, our next major resistance level on US30 currently sits at 34 flat. So again, any sort of push out there, you may want to essentially take that rally all the way to the 3400 zone. But again, we are going to face some serious resistance at that 3400 zone from a Fibonacci retracement perspective. Very, very similar story that we are seeing on NAS. Not exactly picture perfect or identical, but very, very similar in their market structures and formation. So guys, we've had an absolute cracker of a week. Again, if you're looking for trade opportunities immediately delivered to you, I really want to encourage you to go ahead into our back office and go and navigate into the web analysis, and this will give you access to amazing trade opportunities. Again, this is something that Globex 360 is doing for every single one of their clients to make sure you have the best level of information at your fingertips. So USD JPY in an Elliott wave formation, potentially pushing on a bigger time frame all the way down to 129.36, whilst on a smaller market structure we could see USD JPY just attempting to get closer back to that C part of the Elliott wave, and then ultimately we have an opportunity on NZD USD just to push back down to that diagonal resistance level. A ton of opportunities available to you. You can go ahead and navigate through that and see what opportunities you like. Again, as part of our newsletter, we send out every day. If you don't already have one, just comment in the comment sections. We'll make sure we get you sorted out. But there's a detailed analysis of the market, high impact news happening, what is happening from a trade perspective, probabilities of certain trades, and a little bit of a description in terms of what we're seeing there. There's going to be a combination of items here. You're going to see price action, you're going to see repetitive candles, you're going to see breakouts, you're also going to see Elliott waves, Fibonacci, so on and so forth. And the purpose of that is so you can take it, put it into your charts, understand, does it fit within your strategy, does it satisfy your risk appetite, and gives you so much more opportunity and trades in the market. So we're putting in the work so that you don't necessarily have to. Again, 90% of the work is showing up. So guys, thank you once again for joining us on this beautiful Pounds for Breakfast. Have an amazing Friday. I will see you guys at the beginning of next week. Monday morning, we will be live and send out those Pounds for Breakfast as well as dollars for lunch. Exciting opportunities lay ahead of us for the next week. Guys, as always, thank you for an absolutely amazing week. As you know, without you, this would not be possible. And just a massive shout out to the Globex team that makes every single one of these live shows possible. Guys, you're amazing. You know the time, you know the deal. As always, remember to live, learn, and trade the Globex 360 way. Until I see you on Monday, goodbye.